come to the Sexagesima Sunday, 60 days before the great celebration of Easter. Last Sunday was Sexagesima, and today is Sexagesima, then Upper Sunday before we enter into Quadragesima with the Quinquagesima Sunday. Let us sit inside. But dear Christians, we are faced with the reality which unfortunately many of us will not be able to comprehend. And what is that reality? The reality of the three major sources of our faith. The three major sources of our faith, which is faith, hope, and charity. Faith, hope, and charity. Faith enables us to believe in God without doubting whatever He has revealed. So when God reveals, then we have to believe. We don't have to have any doubt. And there are so many things that God has revealed. So why are we having doubt? Because we do not believe in what He has revealed. The second one is hope. After this life on earth here, we hope to be with God in heaven. This is also another source of faith. Because if you know that God has assigned heaven for you, then you do everything to go to heaven. So, whatever God has promised, He will fulfill. In other words, there is heaven and there is hell. Purgatory only exists to bring souls who have not perfected their life of heaven to get cleansed so they can now go to heaven. So purgatory will cease to exist at the end of time. It's only hell or heaven. Then we come to the most interesting part, and this is where we all have problems. Charity. Charity. It's also our source of faith. Why? Because charity enables us to love God above everything. Because God created them. You can't love the creature more than the creator. But it doesn't stop there. To go ahead and love our neighbor for the sake of Christ, who is love personified. Who is love personified. So faith, hope, and charity is very, very important in this Sexagesima Sunday. Why? Because we are being called upon on this Sunday to begin to prepare ourselves to conquer the three greatest enemies. These enemies are realities, which in the real sense are gifts of God. Gifts of God because they challenge us. They challenge us to choose between God and those who go against God. And why are they enemies? They are enemies because the way we treat them in an unthinkable, in an unknowing way. For example, we begin with the devil. Devil has declared, I won't serve God. You have said you will serve God. So what's the difference? You say you will serve God. Devil say he won't serve God. So why is he our enemy? Because he suggested to us how not to serve God. That's what the devil is doing. He cannot force you to serve God. You have said, I will serve God. Devil said, I will not serve God. They go to the next point, the world. Who created the world? God created the world. The world is His. We're supposed to use this word to give God glory. But here we are using the word wrongly. Then we'll come to the third point, the flesh. What a beautiful creation, the flesh. It's our God's gift to us to use to serve Him. But guess what? We use the flesh against God, to go against God, to disobey God. But it's God that gave us this flesh. It's this same flesh we're going to use to serve God. For St. Paul, Listen to him carefully at today's reading. Of all the things he suffered, St. Paul says he can only glory in his infirmity. In other words, St. Paul realized that of all the things he has ever done with his flesh, he is an insignificant person. And that's why St. Paul was like a vagabond. He went from places to places teaching people how to live in faith, hope, and charity, and how to conquer God according to the standard of the saints. And St. Paul had marshaled this one in a very perfect way in today's reading. You have to read that reading over and over again. He suffered so much for the sake of Christ, but his target was to glorify God with his life. So you conquer the flesh by glorifying God with your life. You conquer the world by glorifying God in the world. You are in the world, but you are not of the world. The world is too small to separate you from God. You conquer the devil by saying yes to God. By saying yes to God. And that's what we have in our gospel reading. So clear on the parable of the seed. All of us have been planted into this world. We came through this union of our parents. And having come to the union of our parents, we're not in this world. You have now found yourself in the world. How are you going to take the word of God as a nun, as a consecrated woman, as a seminarian, as a lay faithful, as a married person? Some seed fall or fell on solid ground. And guess what happened? They sprout up, but there was no moisture, they die out. Some fell in tongues, and they grow up, and the tongues choke them. Some fell in good soil, and they produce wonderful fruit. Some fell in the paths, and guess what? The birds of the air came and eats it up. Why? Because if you watch carefully, every battle we go through is on our hearts. What is in your heart? What is in your heart? If the word of God is in your heart, my dear Christians, whether like it or not, you will manifest the glory of God. So let each person go back into his heart and search carefully what is in your heart. The heart of the seminary, for example, is to make these young boys to become like this. The heart of the convent is to make these lovely ladies to become like her. Your own life as lay people is to make your life to become like what? Like Christ or like Our Lady. So each one should begin to ask himself or herself, is my life like unto God? Christ will command us. Learn from me, from meek and humble of heart. Learn from the masters, the mistress, how to worship God in this world. Learn from them. If there is anything around you now, within you now, that is not unto the glory of God, my dear brothers and sisters, separate yourself from it. It's very simple. Because you want to spend eternity with God and a little fruit. Some fell in the paths. And guess what? The birds of the air came and eats it up. Why? Because if you watch carefully, every battle we go through is on our hearts. What is in your heart? What is in your heart? If the word of God is in your heart, my dear Christians, whether like it or not, you will manifest the glory of God. So let each person go back into his heart and search carefully what is in your heart. The heart of the seminary, for example, is to make these young boys to become like this. The heart of the convent is to make these lovely ladies to become like her. Your own life as lay people is to make your life to become like what? Like Christ or like Our Lady. So each one should begin to ask himself or herself, is my life like unto God? Christ will command us. Learn from me, from meek and humble of heart. Learn from the masters, the mistress, how to worship God in this world. Learn from them. If there is anything around you now, within you now, that is not unto the glory of God, my dear brothers and sisters, separate yourself from it. It's very simple. Because you want to spend eternity with God at the last end. So, this Sexagesima Sunday calls upon all of us to be humble. There is so much wrong in us that we need to prepare ourselves for Quinquagesima Sunday. Next Sunday we'll talk about penance. Why we need to do penance. If we don't do penance, we will certainly perish. Then, on Ash Wednesday, we enter the Lenten season to do the 40 days Lenten season. So as we prepare for the glory of Easter, whereby we shall have a vision on how we are going to spend eternity with God forever and ever. We pray that God may give us the strength as we begin to prepare ourselves for the wonderful period of penance during the Lenten season, that we may not shake away, but we acknowledge our sinfulness and ask God for pardon and mercy. In the name of the Father, et Filii, et Spiritus Sancti.